Hello and welcome back to Deep Sleep Creep's YouTube channel. I apologize for the short video today, but these are excellent, true, scary stories nonetheless. Please enjoy and sit back, relax, and let's go deep. Back when I was an 18-year-old female working in a fancy hotel, the maintenance man, a 25 male, was handsome, hard-working and funny. Over time we created a friendship and I found myself comfortable around his presence. A couple of months later he asked me out on a date. We ended up going out for dinner and then for some drinks. It wasn't a bad date at all. It was a nice restaurant and he was being sweet and kind to me. Until I asked him what his last name was, and he replied it was White. At first I didn't think much of it and we moved on. The next day at work I noticed that his name tag actually revealed his last name was Morrison. I never questioned this to him, but immediately found this to be very strange. When I got home I told my mum, who immediately saw it as a red flag. A few hours later she comes up to my room with panic, saying that the very man I went on a date with had beat someone to death when he was 17. The story was that he bullied and chased the younger victim to a dead end, where he acted out a prolonged and vicious attack that was so severe that the victim had to have a closed coffin. My mum is an avid investigator when it comes to these things. Needless to say that after learning this about him, we never went out again. But I did have to see him at work, which made it very awkward. He did come up to me several times, unfortunately, demanding why I suddenly gave him the cold shoulder. That's when I told him that I don't think we should go out anymore. Not surprisingly, he didn't like that at all. He got angry and constantly harassed me at work. Luckily, my manager took this seriously and fired him before it escalated too quickly. But yes, that was my creepy dating horror story. I sure hope I never have to see him again. After my manager fired him, my mum convinced me to quit my job and search for a new one just to be on the safe side, which I did. I'm now 25, and last I heard he moved to Mexico and joined a cartel. Yeah, I don't know how true that is, but I truthfully don't care. As long as he's out of my life, then I'm happy. Stay safe out there and take extra precaution when going out on dates with strangers. I wanted to start this off by saying this is a shocking experience I had, where the creepy guy I waited turned out to be a murderer. This is such a wild encounter that I still can't process to this day. It started when I was a teenager. I waited tables at a local restaurant to pay for the gas and insurance for my car. You know, the typical things teenagers used to do while going to school full-time. It was during my off-season that I was working. I'm a volleyball player and was saving up money to not only pay for car expenses but to go to college as well. Anyway, I met, let's call him Creep, sitting in the very back corner of the restaurant right next to the girls' bathroom. In my naive mind, he seemed normal at first, despite the fact that he was 20 and wanting to date a 17-year-old. Again, only a 3-year difference that didn't scream murderer to me just yet. Anyway, leaving my job after dark scared me, so I taught myself to get in my car, shut the door, and lock it in one fluid motion. It made me feel safe. One night, I was leaving work, and had just gotten into my car when Mr. Creep seemed to just appear out of nowhere, yanking my door handle to try and open it. I looked into his eyes in the split second before he smiled, and what I saw absolutely chilled me to the bones. I don't know how to describe the evil I saw. His eyes were like a black hole, emotionless and empty. His creepy smile just wanted me to jump out of my skin. He waved and laughed the most sinister laugh I've ever heard. I wasn't going to wait around for what he had to say, so I backed up and sped off. I think I may have ran over his foot because I looked at my rear-view mirror and he was holding it, like he was in pain. I don't know. I was just hoping that was the end of that. From then on, I was terrified of him. But I didn't show it because I was afraid of what he might do if I told him I never wanted to see him again. After this, he constantly showed up at the restaurant and lied to try to impress me, and tried to invent ways of being alone with me, but my instinct was to run, so I avoided him. About 2 weeks after this incident, the restaurant got robbed, and there was significant evidence against Mr. Creep, just not the kind that allowed the cops to charge him with. Mr. Creep took that as his opportunity to run away and escape. About 5 years ago, he messaged me on Facebook out of the blue. This infuriated me because he would have had to try really hard to find my Facebook. I had an unusual last name, so on my Facebook I changed it to the most generic last name possible, which was Smith. He went on about his top secret military clearance as well as a huge land and estate he owed, and that's why he had to flee. It made me nervous, and so I just didn't respond and blocked him. Until the following day, I was going about my business and scrolling through social media when I noticed an unsolved murder. And guess whose wanted face I saw for suspected murder? You guessed it. I saw his mugshot. He is now facing murder charges as well as 2 other violent felony charges. I am so glad to know he's locked up, but so overwhelmed about how correct my instincts about Mr. Creep were. I feel like I escaped a maniac. I'm beyond grateful I didn't fall prey to his games and didn't entertain him in the slightest. I was scrolling through TikTok one day when I came across a video of a girl named Anna. She was beautiful, with long brown hair and bright blue eyes. I was immediately smitten. I started following her and liking all of her videos. To my surprise, Anna followed me back. We started chatting and I found out that we had a lot in common. We both loved horror movies and pizza. We even had the same favourite band. After a few weeks of chatting, Anna asked me out on a date. I was thrilled. We decided to meet at a Starbucks near my house. I got there early and waited nervously for her to arrive. When she walked in, I was taken aback. She looked nothing like her pictures. She was much older, with wrinkles around her eyes and grey hair. She introduced herself as Anna, but I could tell that wasn't her real name. We sat down and started talking, but something felt off. She kept asking me personal questions like where I lived and what my parents did for a living. I started to feel uncomfortable. Suddenly my phone buzzed. It was a text from my friend. He had done some digging and found out that Anna wasn't who she said she was. She was actually a 40-year-old man who had been catfishing me. I was horrified. I didn't know what to do. I tried to get up and leave, but Anna grabbed my arm. She told me that she knew where I lived and that she would hurt me if I didn't stay. I was trapped and dumbfounded. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out of the situation. But then I remembered something my dad had taught me. He had always told me to carry a pocket knife with me wherever I went. I slowly reached into my pocket and pulled out the knife. I held it up to Anna and told her to let me go. She hesitated for a moment, but then she released me. I ran out of Starbucks and never looked back. I was lucky to have escaped that situation unharmed, but I learned a valuable lesson. You can't always trust people you meet online.